Developing musicianship online.
Hello, and welcome back to DM Online. If you joined me last time, you'll recall that we were looking at the Garageband project that we'd created and shifting it into the Logic Pro environment where we could manipulate it more using the mixing desk. In those manipulations, we looked at transferring our Kyle, the drummer, the automatic drummer, over to a MIDI track, which gave us some flexibility on how the track was being played. And we looked at the mixing desk and how to bus signals to different places in order to create a spatial effect in our mixes. So today we're going to continue to dig down that busing route, and we will see how to put together a whole mix when it comes to just busing signals and getting the right balance of sound. So let's go. If you recall, we had shifted the drum signal using a bus number 10, across to 3 channels. So we've got drums left, drums center, drums right, and you'll see bus 10 up the top. We also gain staged the track, so we used a gain lever to bring the track level down, so the average was -18. Therefore, we were not maxing out our master so early in the mix. And you'll notice I solo the track so that it can be just taken by that one track, and then I build my layers up one on top of another. Now, in this case, I've got 2 tracks playing bass. That was just because I was creating layers. I don't need 2 tracks playing bass, so I'm going to create an auxiliary bus for my bass. At this point in time, I only really want one bass part. I just want it straight down the middle. So that's where we normally put the bass, is in the middle of the mix. We can EQ it to give it more presence without having many layers of it. So bus 11, and then if I just send my 2 tracks out to bus 11, now I'm just combine those signals into one. So if I need more bass or less bass, all I need to do is go to that one channel to adjust it. I will need to gain stage before I get too fast, so to make sure that I'm not over -18 for my bass part. So already I'm up to 9, so I really need to have 9 decibel less gain. It's normal for this to happen before all your effects. It's quite possible that all my effects are actually causing that gain change. So what I'll do is I'll put my gain knob before all this stuff happens. Now I'm going to assume, because the other one was a duplicate, that this also needs to be a 9 decibel loss. So by holding the option key down and dragging, I can drag that same effect with the same settings across to the other channel. Alternatively, I could have saved it as a preset and then just set up a new gain knob there on the same preset. So now when I look at it, I shouldn't have anything over 18 decibels. Okay, and that's fine. Now a lot of the work we did in Garageband with compression and EQ and stuff. So at this point in time, I'm not too stressed about that, but we can learn a little bit more in this program about those things, and I'll show you how a little later. So that brings our bass into the mix. Now we've got our organ. I like to swing my organ a little bit to the left and the right. I don't generally mix an instrument all the way to one side or all the way to the other, because if you do have people without headphones or with a mono setup, then they're going to get half your mix and instruments will vanish. So, but I will spread out the signal with the pan knobs. So for example, an organ, maybe I would like it to be panned -20 left and -20 right. It's going to mean that I've got 2 channels instead of 1 channel, and the spread in comparison to the drum kit will be slightly different, so therefore in your headset you will get a slightly different experience from the organ. So I create two auxiliaries. I'm going to say I want them to go to bus 12. Then I'm going to have organ left. And organ right. Setting them to -0 and panning -20 to the left and -20 to the right. When I'm dealing with larger ensembles and a lot of horns, I like to spread the horns out so that certain instruments have a lot of width and then others are more centered. I tend to do it in pitch order, so trombones will be quite close to the middle. They've got a lot of bass end. They sort of work a lot with that bass sound. And then the trumpets, being the pitchier higher, will be spread most wide. The vocalist, I will always give 3 channels to and occasionally 4 channels to, just to make sure it's got a lot more presence in the mix than what the horns do. The other thing that this bussing effect has is to glue instruments together. So instead of having a channel for each trumpet going through stereo, if I've got 4 trumpets, now I've glued those 4 trumpets together in a combination ensemble sound. And you can add an ensemble EQ to that sound to make sure you get the balance that you want. So I need to find my organ, and then I need to put the organ across to my new bus. And I need to gain stage my organ to make sure my organ's not playing beyond -18. The organ doesn't come in until halfway through, so I'm going to adjust where it starts to play. And you'll see it's popping up about -15, so it just needs to have about 3 decibels taken off it, just to keep it in balance with everything else. So pull it back by -3, and then I duplicate it across to the other thing. Now, one cool effect which might work in here is to put a tiny slap delay between the left and right signal. So that means that your left and your right are just slightly out of sync. If you do this with trumpets, it will actually give you almost that mariachi Mexican bouncing off concrete walls type effect, where you're getting a little bit of a slap back. It's very cool. And the delay is like minuscule. But I'll save that for when I've got some trumpets in a mix rather than doing it now. So right now I've got organ, I've got bass, I've got drums. They're all gain stage, so they're all below -18, and I've just got vocals left. And remember, I want my vocals to have a presence about them, so I'm going to do what I said before, which was send the vocals out through 3 channels. I won't make them quite as wide as the drums, but I'm going to keep them fairly wide. It's normal to have the vocals through the center, but by adding these extra outputs, I'm actually giving the vocals more presence in my mix. So again, we're going to bus out to a new bus, which in this case will be 13, and if I set the 13 up before I go, I'm not going to wind up with an unwanted channel. Bus 13, and then I should title them as well. It's good to keep things organized. So we've got Vox left, Vox center, Vox right, and then we want them all on -0. Now, like I said, I want my vocals to have more presence, so I may in fact look at an average volume of 15 decibels or 16 decibels as opposed to the 18 decibels I've been working at with all of the ensemble parts. But I will need a gain stage knob in here as well, and it will want to be before everything else. And we can skip to where the vocals come in.
DM, developing musicianship online.
So see it's coming in at -12, so I'm going to pull that back another 3 to 6 decibel of loss of gain. And I've got one other track there that I can see, which is that drum hit at the end. So I'm going to have to be very careful with the drum hit that doesn't ping out way over volume compared to my other drum part, which is currently sitting at -18. But remember, I've already got a drum track here, so I want to output the drums to the drum track. All drums, including the one I created for that specific hit. And there's our vocals going out to the bus 13. So we're just going to check that drum hit. Yeah, and that came in at about -3 decibels, so I really need it to be at least another 10 less. Actually, more like 16 less. Let's try 18 total. That was a little bit underwhelming now, so I need a bit more gain back. Okay, at this point in time, we have an equally balanced mix with a couple of exceptions. First of all, our vocals has been granted a little bit more presence in the mix. And the second thing is that some instruments such as drums and vocals have actually more output because they're sitting in more output channels in our auxiliaries and over here. Okay, so it's probably not going to be the ideal end balance, but at least with all these instruments playing, I shouldn't see any limit reached in the master output. So let's put this to test and see what it sounds like.
DM, developing musicianship online. DM, developing musicianship online.
So, as we played, observed this master output, which got to -6 or -3. When we output into our mastering program, we actually want that to be at its limit. So in order to do that, we go to Dynamics. We click on the effects part of the program, and you'll notice effects in this program are unlimited, unlike Garageband where you're limited to 4 effects that you've added and then the effects of whatever they've chosen to put with it. So in this case, I've actually got a preset here, and this preset is like my generic go-to for gain reduction. And what you basically do is you want to push the volume up to limit and have the reduction pulling it back by a maximum of 3 decibels. So that's where this gain knob comes in. I want to increase the gain to get that 3 decibel reduction. And I'm going to do it with, this is a compressor, a limiter compressor. So when I go back to the start,
DM, developing musicianship online.
so you see so far I've had a 1 decibel reduction. I know that's the loudest part of the whole mix, so I can actually increase this by 2 decibels and end up with a 3 decibel reduction. So I'll go one more time.
DM, developing musicianship online.
2. I've still got another 0.8 I can increase it by. We'll go to 9. That'll be fine. One more time.
DM, developing musicianship online.
Go to 2.9, close enough. So in essence, we're normalizing the signal to a standard production level so that if you're playing it alongside other music, it's not going to sound quiet. It'll sound like it has the normal presence. Okay, so today we've covered busing signals to create a mix. We've covered gain staging all your signals to make sure you don't bash out your master signal beyond capacity. And now we've looked very briefly at setting that limit on your master so that you don't output too much, but that you're providing good strength of volume for your final mix. So next week we'll have a look at the EQing and the effects we can create by being a little bit more selective in our EQ. Okay, until then, hope to see you next time. Bye bye.
DM, developing musicianship online.